All right, Ohan, tell me about Alohana Moments. What is it? How did you come up with it?
And Justin, when of course, from my accent, people already will realize, our listeners will realize, English is not my first language,
Hmm.
and it took some time for me to learn it. Of course, as any language, you start from A, B, and C, then you start constructing words. Then after that, sentences. At the beginning, it was just learning English and confusing very important words such as need and want. I was using them interchangeably. And of course,
Oh well, a lot of natural English speaking people confuse need and want as well. So you're not alone with that one.
yes, sir. So then, when because of the profession and everything, became a financial planner, I like no, there are two different things, and it's very important to pay attention on these two words, needs and wants. That's how my English get improved. Then came to the point when I like, okay, accept this part of like optimizing, doing numbers, all these left brain type of activities. I found another part of finance and life in general, which is psychology or behavioral part, whatever you want to call it. And that's how I got involved with life planning and everything, which I'm sure we'll get covered. But writing Alohana moment is mainly for me. And how selfish that will sound, but I want that connection to happen with my own body, with my own mind and spirit and soul. And how I do that through reflections, which I offer that to my readers as well. In every moment, in the end, there is a line that I want my readers to pause, just to read, not to rush to answer, but just to read and try to reflect on that. Because these are some exercises I do it for myself, and that's how I'm learning, most importantly, about myself. Because if I don't know who am I, what am I doing, how I can learn about others. This will sound
Hmm.
a little bit selfish, especially in our profession, but I started this blog for myself. I truly doing my best with, of course, help of technology and everything. Nowadays it's different, but I'm writing my blogs to give the message out the simplest way possible, the way that I understand some complex stuff that I got involved with.
Now, like, don't you have a deeper definition to like an actual Alohana moment, like a connection, a moment of experience in life that you say, oh, like that's an Alohana moment. Like, what's that definition?
That sounds great, and that's great question. Like, and I do have Alohana. Just the name by itself is combination of two Hawaiian words, and I want to put the record straight that I'm not Hawaiian, but very possible with my soul and my living and my life. I can be considered Hawaiian if Hawaiian community accepts me that way. I've been in Hawaii, but and these are combination of two words, Alohana and Ohana. And like for many people, like family will be on the top of their list when it comes to values and what they do for their purpose and meaning in life. But somehow when you mention the word Ohana, and not which is Hawaiian equivalent of family, another phrase comes to mind of many people who know about it: no one left behind. Versus aloha, of course, like it's hello or bye in Hawaiian, but it has deeper meaning as well, which is peace, meaning, and harmony. So this is Alohana is combination of these two words. That's how Alohana came out. And I know many time people there was an intention of having these two first to start with the letter A, something that it was in my mind. But in the meantime, like Ohan kind of in the middle, which flip it, and my clients are in the middle of everything that I'm doing, or the relationships I'm in. It can be my family, it can my friends. I'm doing my best for them to be middle of my attention. So Alohana in that sense is more of like again reflections, but in the meantime for people to find deeper meaning in their life beyond money. Because everything that I write or we do in our work, and just in general, when you go outside, right now we are recording this, everything somehow connected to money. time, money, energy. All these things were in my mind all the time. And again, I mentioned, as I mentioned at the beginning, I always think about these like numbers. It needs to add up. Balance needs to be come to the zero with all your liabilities and your net worth and everything. But then this behavioral part came out to my life, and I start connecting by mindfulness, my meditation, all these new things, especially someone who was born in Soviet Union. I jokingly say when people ask me where have you born, I jokingly say in the country that doesn't exist anymore because where I was born, Armenia was part of Soviet Union, and we grew up the way that spe- sp- um, specifically men don't have feelings. Like we cannot be vulnerable in a sense like it kind of like um, imagine like people grow up with a way that it's more robotic, so there is no heart, versus everything Alohana related, including Alohana moment, it comes truly from my heart, which in my opinion is the best way to connect with anyone. And I again, I'm doing this for myself because although I do get compliments that I've open heart, but still I know that it can blossom and open more. That's another thing behind Alohana moments.
You've mentioned a couple times about how you're doing it for yourself first, and the first time you said, that might sound selfish, but like one of the things that I think we get wrong in society is that doing things for yourself doesn't always have to be selfish. There are times where it's selfish, but other times you actually have to do the things for yourself to be able to serve. So you can't pour from an empty cup. So you got to be taking care of yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually, so you are the best version of yourself. And that might look like selfishness because you are going downstairs to meditate when the kids are doing something, or your wife might be doing something else, like, so it looks like it's selfish, but at the end of the day you're making yourself better. And somebody told me one time that like getting 80% of my time at full version of me is better than getting 100% of a worn down version of myself. So I think that it's warranted to make the distinction between not all things for self is selfish, and sometimes we do need to prioritize us to be better for others. And it's interesting when you were talking about you're writing for yourself because it allows you to process things and learn things to be able to help the people that you serve. I just got back from the Integrated Wealth Advisor retreat to kick off the program I'm going through. And that whole weekend, which this technically this designation is to help us become better life planners, financial advisors, integrated wealth advisors, to better serve our clients, and ultimately for some people with the goal to grow your business. But the whole weekend was about self exploration. Like we didn't do anything that was how do I grow my business? It was how do you connect more with yourself? And then how can you help your clients do that so they can better understand themselves and better align their authentic self with their finances? But it's just interesting that the whole retreat was about ourself, and putting us in a better position, knowing ourselves, being more comfortable with ourselves to go out and then go serve others. So I love the fact that you're writing for yourself. And I remember when I started writing my blog, All About Your Benjamins, I think I heard Barry Ritholtz say he writes for an audience of one himself. And I think that so many times we think about creating, like, oh, we got to create something that's going to go viral and people are going to like, and we hope that's the case, but like the best content, and even Rick Rubin would tell you this, is to create for yourself. And that there will be people who are like-minded enough that they're going to enjoy what you like. If you like it, there will be at least one other person out there who will like it as well. So I want to really draw attention to the fact that you've prioritized, as you're building your business, which we're going to get into in a moment, you've, even with the building as the focus, you've prioritized you first, which I think is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Justin. And you mentioned self-exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a big believer, and I know at least through ages that it is never-ending process, self-exploration, because we evolve, our environments change. It is the same thing that we always learn. I consider myself a lifelong learner. And there is this saying, I cannot exactly remember who the quote is, but the moment we stop learning, we die. That's the same way like the plant is growing. And by doing this writing, I'm learning. And remember, like at the beginning, it was different English when I came to United States. And what I mean by that, I had a little bit British English speaking experience from back home, from my education and experience and everything. Then I come to United States, I do my best to speak grammatically correct. And then I realize, like, in America, not necessarily everyone speak grammatically correct. In many cases, Americans, we try to give, and you see now I call myself an American, we try to give our message out the most pure and clear way possible. And very possible you don't use appropriate, very subject or object or all these different like parts of the sentence. And that was another journey that I went. I just wanted to put myself in the situation. I like, let me do my best to give the message out, and that helped me a lot on my career, because like like especially in financial industry, we have all these disclosures, I call it, and many people call it, like word salad. I was trying to clear that up and just to see what is the easiest way to communicate. And self exploration is big part of Alohana moment. And every time anything comes to my mind, I have notes, I put it there, then I start thinking on that. In some situations I realize, like, oh, there is even more research done on this subject, so I can go on to do that part as well, just to learn what other people wrote, talk, or research about it. But it's all about exploring myself.
And if anybody goes to your LinkedIn, they will see that you're a lifelong learner with all the designations and doctorate and everything that you have. And sometimes I think you like to learn too much. Like sometimes I gotta like push you to like don't worry about researching it,
Yes.
just like go do it, because the lifelong learning, as important as it is, can also sometimes become a distraction and end up being a form of procrastinating. Like sometimes you don't need to know all of the reasons why to go do something. But I love that about you.
Just like likewise, our love is mutual, and I love when you are reminding me about that, because I can think of like, oh, I'll start writing when this, I'll start making video when all these whens come out. It's kind of like the signal of procrastination, because when never arrives. It is right now, and I like, if I have 3 minutes day just to sit and write, I better do it now. And this is something came to me not long ago, it came to me recently. As you mentioned, like I was collecting all these alphabet letters after my name, although my last name is already like long and very confusing, but I like, let me get all these. The good thing, English alphabet has only 26 letters. There are some alphabets have double that amount. But yes, now is the time of putting myself in front of people, and thank you for reminding me that.
Mhm. I want to come back in a little bit about life planning, our love for it. I want to hear why you love it and how you see it working with clients. But part of the Align Life podcast is people following their authentic life, pursuing their passions, taking risks, bet on themselves. And I want to share with the audience a little bit about your decision to come to the States, because
Mhm.
that's a big deal. Leave family, come to a foreign land where you don't speak the language. You pick California. One reason I understand why, but it's also the most expensive place to try to break into, and you did successfully. But kind of share with the audience as much as you want about the decision to leave home to come here. Like, how was it? How did you navigate it? How did you have the confidence to do it? Just tell us about that.
Justin, probably I mentioned this before, but for our audience, it will be first time. I don't remember mentioning anywhere else that I always believe that I have smart feet. So it takes me to places that I supposed to be. Because looking back, every place I end up being, and there was a lesson I learned there. There was something I always like get from that environment, or vice versa, the environment got from me. So in 2009, I won a green card. And for our audience who don't know, there was, because right now I don't think they continue, there was a diversity visa lottery, which was conducted by Department of State. And back home, I did my studies. I serve in military as well, because that's mandatory back home. And after doing all that, I started working at the beginning as a loan officer for small and medium enterprise businesses to help them with lending. Then after that, started working with international company, Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. But I was working from back home and doing mortgage-backed securities underwriting. So I already like get exposure to English, but it was hard for me to learn. I like the best thing will be for me to go to English-speaking country to learn. That's how I apply for this diversity visa lottery. I got approved for that, which gave me a green card, so I came to United States legally from the day one. And I remember until now, my cousin was telling like, you don't understand how much this paper, this card costs. Some people will come to United States, never get it, or they will spend all their resources to get this and everything. I was lucky in that sense. I got a green card after 5 years living in United States. I became citizen. But again, English was the biggest obstacle because I was unable to find a job when I was applying for teller in the bank. And why I was I was thinking of working in the bank because my experience was in finance, although my education was in engineering and economics. But when I was applying for cashier or teller, exp- I was overqualified. When I was applying for banker, my English was not enough. So at the beginning, it was really hard for me to find the job that I wanted, and somehow I had different mindset. I grew up in the um, household, in the environment that you go work from 9 to 6 and you earn, you know, like the majority, the so-called system, or I don't want to go too much conspiracy, but the matrix will tell you to do. So that was Ohan. I wanted like stable job, and I understand now looking back because I was new in United States with limited English, and the reason I chose California because I had cousin there, and also like it is more like first stop for immigrants. So I became a banker, got my securities licenses, realized that it is not enough in that sense because I wanted some type of formal education. That's when I studied for my certified financial planner designation, became certified financial planner professional. And of course, it didn't stop there. I got enrolled agent, now registered life planner and everything. But to answer your question, I came to LA. I lived there for 16 years. In that period of time, even I managed to bring my parents to United States, which they live here in now. They became citizens themselves, but now they are back home because they live entire life there, and I understand they want to be in the environment that is familiar for them. But that triggered to me like this is the best time if I want ever to move geographically because it was now with my wife and my daughter who is very little, and I always heard it's the best time when the kids are little to do the big move. And I jokingly say that after 16 years living in LA, I moved to North Carolina, and I have the feeling that I just arrived to America. And people laugh on that, but like LA, as much as I love it, it is a great place to be. But in the meantime, being overcrowded and overpopulated, and me coming from a small city, small country itself, I learned a lot, got lots of friends. I love the weather. I love pretty much everything about LA, but busyness, the traffic. You know, there is famous freeway in LA called 405. That's the number, and they like why they call it 405. And jokingly, Los Angeles people say because it takes 4 or 5 hours to go anywhere in LA. And that was one of the biggest reason I wanted to take control of my time, which is getting translated to take control of my life. And it is not only coming from myself. There is a book called Flow by Mihai uh, Chikse Mihail. It's a little bit hard last name, but uh, Chicks and Mihai, I believe that's the proper way to pronounce his name. But he's a scientist and he did research on happiness. And one of the best, or on the top of the spectrum, what makes us happy, to take control of our life. And now, just moving from LA to North Carolina to smaller city. Although locals tell me this is not like slow whatsoever. Used to be slow 10 or 20 years ago. Now it's again like lots of development and everything. But I got control of my time. I got control of my day. I can take my daughter to her activities. She's doing acting. She's doing um, art type of lessons, dancing. So in LA, it would have taken me 1.5 hour, 2 hours just to go from one place to another. And this is my current, in my current season of life, this is my aligned life that I wanted to slow down. And that's another reason I start writing. That's another reason I finally launched my business after 5 year being out of corporate America and everything. So that was the main reason for me moving this part of the country.
I want to go back to smart feet. I think that's a interesting idea. How do you, so your feet may be smart, but you have to be able to hear where they're telling you to go and trust it. So how do you know when to listen to your feet?
Justin, that's a great question. And to take to parallel, of course, I call it smart feet, but it can be more of a, like my intuition, of course.
Hmm.
Like
That's what I
me,
figured.
what my heart is telling me, you know. I truly do my best because of like practicing as much as I can. Even breathing, I change the way that I breathe. I do my best to breathe the proper way through my nose and everything, and it brings me to mindfulness, just being mindful and meditating as much as I can. And of course, we know that there is no such thing as bad meditation. Any meditation is good meditation. All these things help me to get more aligned with my heart, my spirit, my soul. And that's the part that helps me with putting my one feet in front of the other. That's why I mentioned smart feet. And by doing that, again, looking back, I know the places that I went, it just end up being good because there is this uncertainty about future, as everyone has and knows, you know. But recently, I start um, practicing, I guess you call it, or I start going to improv classes, and then in improv, there is this saying like, let your body go and your mind will catch up with this. Because the improv, like the definition of it, yes, you can try in your mind to um, prepare like answers to the questions that are asked or what I should tell next, which is, by the way, we know that it shows that you are not a great listener. Instead, you can just do your best to be present, listen as much as you can, because listening is much faster than much faster than thinking. But then trust your body, trust your intuition trust your intuition to move your body forward, and then your mind will catch up. That is something that I always remind about my smart feet. And of course, like, I don't want to sound that I don't, although I'm trying not to use the word regret, I want to remove it from my lexicon. But I did have, of course, regrets. My feet took some places that I wish I never went there. But then that's another lesson. That is that is something I always remind myself. Trust the process. Everything happens for a reason. There is reason for your feet taking you there. That is the way that I understand about feed, which is, as I mentioned, is more like trusting your intuition.
I was anticipating that was going to be what smart feet meant. And I just want more people to hear, your intuition will guide you. It'll take you where you need to be. Sometimes, and I'm glad you brought this up, sometimes it will take you places that in the moment feels like, why am I here? Why did I go down this path? And it will appear to be wrong, but it's in that experience, that part of the journey, that you learn something that you couldn't have learned without going down that path. And it's different for everybody. But I think that it's one of the most important guides we have, and it will really help you as you pursue, what's next in your life and living your authentic life. So I'm glad that I was right in asking that question and it didn't
Well,
blow up in my face.
yes, and I can remember two episodes came to my mind about that moment when I like, what am I doing here? And that was again like the military, which is again mandatory back home. I like, why even came? What am I gonna learn here? This is talking the guy who got bachelor's, master's on his way to get his doctoral degree and everything. Like, why am I gonna waste 2 hours? But then looking back now, within that 2 hour, 2 years, why I'm here for these 2 years, and within these 2 years, I learned so much that worth of like entire life. Or sometimes even in LA, I like why I choose to come here because I could have choose easier life because of my education, knowing English back home. I could have, I was in a sense earning international income, international salary, living somewhere that the cost of living is much much less than in any developed country. I could have been there and it would have been easy, easy life. It happened not many times, probably like couple times that. By the way, I work for UPS. Probably you don't even know. I was helping on their Christmas season and everything. I like, why I'm here? Why am I'm doing this? I could have this comfortable life, but then later on I realized that no, comfort is not helping me to improve, is not helping me to evolve, is not helping me to move forward. And these are all lessons that I learned by sometimes being in situations that I wish I never went at the first place. But then it all turned out great.
Well, your lesson about comfort, like you can't learn that lesson without the experience. And somebody listening or watching, they're going to learn their own experience about comfort. And maybe your story will help them realize that earlier because I think a lot of times people have this feeling of discontentment and they don't know why do I feel like I'm not happy? Everything on paper looks like it should be great. I could be back home in Armenia and living a great life. And like, why am I uncomfortable? Well, the uncomfortable is like the comfort that I have is that challenges me. It doesn't allow me to grow. So you could have read a book, you could have listened to podcasts, but I don't think you would have learned the lesson the way you needed to learn without realizing, oh, comfort is something that does not light me up. So I'm curious how you would differentiate, especially since you're study words and very intentional with the way you say things. You didn't use this word, but let's compare comfort and contentment. Do you see them as the same or do you see them different? And if they see them as different, how do you differentiate them? Because I think that contentment could be mistaken for comfort, but I don't think it's quite the same. But I'm curious how you differentiate the two words. And you had no idea I was going to ask you this because I had no idea you were going to bring it up.
And this is a great question you are bringing up because if I have any way of rating the English words that I learn, the
Hmm.
word contentment is very recent word in my lexicon and my
Hmm.
understanding. I didn't know what does it mean. The moment I heard first time, by the way, from a colleague, I heard that she's like, I'm content with my life. That was the time I started researching the word content. And content is not only satisfaction and happiness, but in the meantime, you sense that understanding of enough. That's in my opinion the definition of content. When everything that I want to add, instead of bringing me more contentment or happiness, it is taking more of my energy. As you mentioned, we need to have that energy. We need to first fill our cup in order to overflow and give to others. Comfort, and I know people can confuse this with content because like contentment in a sense comfort as well, but when you are content, you came to that point. George Kinder mentions in seven stages of money maturity, which is again we go to aloha. That was another reason I have aloha. With the contentment you come to that point that you start being selfless, and at that moment you have enough that you can give others without expecting anything back. Versus when you are in comfort, you can just sit on your couch and watch Netflix all day long. Which, of course, I don't want to sound judgmental because I just did a comparison. But that was the best way for me to understand comfort, which I don't have TV. I don't have TV right now. And that is another intentional thing that I had because I don't want to have that, like, because I have TV, I'm going to turn it on, then I'm going to turn it on, I'm going to start watching mainly documentaries, to be quite honest with you. But again, they can be just non-ending versus like I better spend that time with my kid, my wife, working on my business, which of course takes lots of time, or just read a book versus, and that is not comfort for me because I'm learning from books, I'm learning from the biggest teacher of my life, which is my daughter, really. And in the comfort, you are not learning. You came to this kind of vacuum, or create this environment that at that moment there you don't have any motivation, or you don't have any vigor to do something bigger than you are. In my opinion, that's the main difference. I would love to hear your opinion on that as well. But content is the point when you got to the position when it is enough for you and you can give to the world, to others, which we always try to do. But when you are content, you give without expecting anything back.
I think my definitions are similar to yours. When I think of contentment, I think of being at peace. Like I'm at peace at the situation that I'm in. I also think that contentment allows for continued growth. I don't think contentment is stagnant. I think for me and for you, growth is a part of something that allows me to feel content. So if I know I have enough resources to provide for my family, I have enough time to take care of myself and be present and take care of my clients, and I have time to be able to continue to grow and evolve, that brings me a sense of contentment. I don't need much more than that. And like when I think about comfort, I think about comfort as being more stagnant. Like there's the saying that person's a creature of comfort. I think that they're comfortable where they are, they don't want to move. And with me, comfort and that stagnation doesn't create growth. And usually another reason of that is usually growth happens when you are uncomfortable. So like you can't really grow if you don't step outside of where you are today in your comfort zone in some sense. So I think that that's the difference that I see is that you can end up being comfortable in your contentment, but if you're just judging contentment and comfort, I think that comfort is stagnant. I think comfort is where we grow stale. I think comfort is where we stop evolving with our authentic life. And usually it's some sort of fear that keeps us in the comfort. Like you think you want to stay because it feels good, but really what's probably keeping you there is the fear of whatever's supposed to happen next of the growth. So I think those are two important words to distinguish. At the end of the day, I think each individual should come up with their own definition. And if you want to flip flop them, then so be it. Then you want to be a comfortable person, not a content person for the reasons that you determine. Like, I don't know if we should lose in some instances, but I do think they are different words and they hold different meanings. And I think they hold different energies, at least for me. Like, comfort to me is a lower energy and not in a negative way, in a less creative way. Like when
Hmm.
I think about comfort, I think about, oh, it's a rainy fall day and I'm laying on the couch under covers, taking naps, moving it. I'm nice and warm. I'm not going out in the cold. Like that's comfortable to me and that's comfort. I'm not going to grow doing that if I did that every single day. And so like that's comfort. I don't want to leave that because it's warm, but when we think about personal growth and self-exploration, my guess is it's not staying under the blanket that's keeping people there. It's the fear of putting the blanket down and going to do something and not knowing what it is that they're going to go do. Maybe being afraid of the version of themselves they'll have to grow into because of the changes that they make, like all these things. But I think fear keeps you in comfort. And the cool
Just
thing is, I don't think I've ever vocalized that or thought about it until just now, which is why I love stuff like this.
That's great, man. Like, and you put in, of course, much better English and explanation of that. But in a sense, intentionally, I stayed away from the word peace, which is still I'm exploring just to see what is the meaning of peace, because many people will choose contentment over peace. And although, as I mentioned, like one of the reasons of Alohana, Aloha was part of that peace as well. Peace meaning harmony. This is one of these words that can be confusing for someone who is learning English. They didn't grow up. But you can, of course, argue with me that many Americans will confuse these words as well, like such words as happiness and joy, which can, in many cases, being used interchangeably. But joy is that above, in my opinion, at least, happiness. Yes, that bliss, whatever that feeling that you have. Again, one of our authors that we talk a lot about it, I believe he does mention about that a lot. That state. Michael Singer talks about that situation when you're already in this um, high, in a good sense, and then that is like very much radiant. That's your heart, that your aura, whatever you call it.
I think anybody who's done any reading on consciousness will probably put joy above happiness and know that joy is a higher state, closer to a state of love. Like I think you and I are biased because we read Michael Singer and Dr. Hawkins and all these other things that kind of puts joy on that spectrum. But yeah, joy and happiness I think oftentimes get swapped for each other. And at the end of the day, they are just words, and
Yes.
really, I mean, the words matter in the greater scheme of communication, but also I think the words need to matter most to you. So if saying happiness means joy to you at a higher level, that's perfectly fine. Like you need to communicate in a way that resonates with you and aligns with you to get you moving and doing the things that you need to do. So um, yeah, I'm glad we dove into comfort and contentment,
Contentment.
because again, that wasn't planned. But what was planned was I wanted to dive into a little bit of a conversation about life planning. I talk about it a lot. I've had other guests on that are in our realm that do life planning, but part of the reason I want to have more conversations about it is I just want more people to be aware of its existence.
Absolutely.
Like it's still early. I feel like it's the future of the profession. I feel like it's all we should be focusing on doing. But in the grand scheme of things, it's new amongst advisors. Not very many advisors have the RLP or have gone through Money Quotient or the other ones out there, and the public for sure is not thinking of people in our position to do this type of work. So, what was it about life planning that drew you in, and then what is it about you learned about yourself as a person and an advisor going through the process?
Justin, you are a great interviewer. These are
Oh well,
great
thank you,
questions you are asking.
thank you. Actually, I want to
And
I want to add one. I want to throw one question in. Save those two questions. This will lead into it. How do you define life planning? And then how did you find it? What did you fall in love with it? So how do you define life planning?
and in case I miss any of the questions, please ask me again because I
Oh
would
well.
love to talk about this. You know, we can talk about this forever. But again, I will connect with developing my English and communication. At the beginning, all my goal was do my best to be able to order coffee or tea at Starbucks. And then that I got that part of the English. Then you are building on that. The same way that someone will just learn any foreign language, or someone will just learn about finance. You know, at the beginning they will learn about checking or saving account, different cards and everything. So everything that you want to learn in life needs to have some type of basis so you can build on it. You know, in many cases, yeah, you can build a little bit, then you can renovate, build something else. So I am always metaphor for me in this will be like learning a learning language. And at the beginning I could have not, of course, um, I could have read um, the same book I mentioned, Seven Stages of Money Maturity, or Michael Singer, or any other mindfulness book or anything, but then my English was not enough for me to understand, because in my mind it was all about understanding. Imagine at that moment it is not about feeling, it is about understanding, because understanding in my mind comes before feeling. When you are learning something new, your brain right away jumps, and although you in your heart you can feel it, which I was not feeling at least at that moment. And why I mention all this, when I was reading Seven Stages of Money Maturity, in that George Kinder mentions about let your thoughts go and let your feelings be. So that gave me a trigger of thinking, trying to understand uh, how I will let my thoughts go, but feelings stay here. And feeling is, for me at least, easier way to understand like what your heart is saying or what you are feeling in your body. That's the definition of feeling, at least at this stage of my journey, because I know I'm still building it. So I heard about life planning from a podcast that George Kinder did 2017, if I'm not mistaken, with Michael Kitces. I heard that when I went to XYPN conference, live conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There I participated in in a 1 hour kind of introductory session about seven stages of money maturity, which is of course part of like seven stages, evoke, and then mentorship, and conducted by another person that I very much admire and I look up to, by Scott Frank. And At the end, one of participants asked God, like, what will be one thing if you want to pursue this designation you start doing now? And in my mind, I would have think maybe Scott will advise to go read George Kinder's work and get familiar with it. But Scott mentioned one thing, that practice listening, and that was big moment for me, because I work on my active listening, trying not to come up with words like what I'm gonna tell after everything. But me being trained in technical education and everything, I always try to find solutions. And even at that moment, I went to XY. I was calling myself a money coach, because that's another thing I learned in America. In America, if you are a coach, or with all the respect, I have so many coach friends. If you are a coach, or you are a journalist, writer, author, you can pretty much talk anything you want to talk about money. No one will come to stop you or like, hey, it is not compliant what you are talking. That's why I start doing the money coaching part, because I was creating content and everything. So when I went to XY, that was the main reason. I wanted just to be around other CFPs, and that was another reason I should go back to my financial planning. But anyway, like I learned about like this listening just to see what is it about, and it is not about finding solutions for others, because I came to that conclusion that we cannot change others, another person, unless they are invested in themselves, that I want the change. I'm here because you have tools, where you have experience, you have a method now that you can guide me, not help, guide me through the process for me to understand myself. So these are like things that came up about life planning, and I realized that, oh, this is something again. I want to get another designation. I want to learn a little bit more about this. That's how I went. When it comes to definition of life planning for me, of course, the easy one is I borrowed from other life planners, including George Kinder, that life planning is financial planning done right. That's one way of explaining it. But then life planning for me is finding deeper meaning in your life beyond money. And I don't know what is that meaning. I don't know even the meaning of me. Yes, I do have meaningful things right now I wake up for, including my firm, my family, my friends, what I'm working on, and everything. But then that's another thing, it evolves. You are learning new things, and your meaning can change in life. And I don't know what to expect in the future. I'm doing my best to be present now by using the past that was more of a like experience and path that I went through. But life planning is that at least I know what I want to accomplish in coming year or two. And of course, I have long-term goals as well, but life planning by itself is just to shorten that part. Why you should wait until you become 60 or 65 to take that dream trip to Italy? Because if you go to Europe or any old countries, you will realize it is not like United States infrastructure when there are escalators and elevators. You will take stairs going up and down. So that's another thing I want to bring to my audience and my clients, that why we don't try some things that you have in your mind right now. That's another definition of life planning. Instead of just waiting, let's live your life now. Let's take that speaking classes now. Let's do that tennis sessions now. Just let's do it now instead of waiting for some time, which I hope everyone gets to that point. But of course, there is no guarantee. And what will be your physical? And again, do your best to make sure that your body and mind always like stay in good shape, but there is no guarantee, like aging and time does it work. Why we don't try all these things right now? So life planning for me is shortening that time where you want to go and where you are right now to do it sooner than later.
I just wrote something down I've never really thought about, but I think that life planning is a bit of a process to try to help us live, and you alluded to it, living more in the present. So, yes, the conversation's obviously going to have longer term goals and everything, but like a lot of the process is to think about the shorter term. Like what can we do in the next year and how do we do that? And don't wait, like you said, until 10, 15 years down the road to do this thing. If it's that important, prioritize it and do it now. So it moves us to living closer to the present. I don't know if it truly gets you like living right now, but it gets you out of your head of thinking about doing something 20 years down the road and figuring out how can you do that, or figuring out the why and the emotions behind the reason you think you want to do that thing, and realizing, well, it's really not the thing, it's the feeling or it's the experience. And here's another way for me to feel or experience that in a much shorter time frame in a different way, but it gives me what I really want. Like I don't think anybody really wants to be a billionaire. I don't think anybody would turn it down. But what people want is they want financial security. So now that we can disassociate from this goal of having $1 billion, because we realize, okay, what you really want is financial security, and you just have picked $1 billion. Now we know what's your real why is, and maybe we can get to the why it is the why. You grew up not having anything. You don't ever want to go back to poverty. Whatever it is, like as you keep on going deeper, now you know the why for the why, and now we can prioritize it and make that happen. Oh, well, you don't need $1 billion to have that. Based off of your lifestyle and what you want to do and what's important, you only need a much smaller number. And now you get this financial security a lot sooner, and you can live a better life. So I want to play more with how life planning helps us live more in the present, because we all know that the present is the only moment that ever exists. Like
Yes.
the past is in the past, and it's a memory that's probably false. That's one of the things that gets crazy, is that like our memories are somewhat a little bit of a lie to ourselves of what happened. It's our perspective of what happened, but it's not actually what happened. And then the future hasn't happened yet. So the present is the only moment. And I think life planning pulls us back to get us closer to it. At the most simplest level, I just think of life planning as it's planning for the life that you want. Like that's what my hope is through the process. Then my whole purpose is around the authentic life. So my thought is like financial planning historically has been about the numbers, and
Mm-hmm.
we attach life in there, but usually the focus of the planning process is not the life, and it's not the life that somebody wants when they tune out all the outside noise. So I'm with you. You mentioned earlier that people have to be ready and willing to want to do this work. I do think that's the case. So that's why I think we're early, is that I don't think a lot of people out there know why they're discontent and why they're sitting in comfort. And they've never explored why, because no one's prompted them to do so, or they just don't feel like they have the time. Financial advisors have not had those conversations historically in the past, but I think that it's going to be something that people are going to want the more conversations we have like this and we put it out there. But it's putting the life that you want first, figuring out what that looks like, and then assessing the numbers to say, how do we align our finances with that to make that become the reality? And I do remember earlier in my career making the connection, but not fully as I know it to be the truth today. Like I have to try to go find a blog post or maybe I said on a podcast, but that most financial plans never get executed. Not because the people don't care. It's that the life that it's leading to is not one that excites them.
Yes.
So we sit down and we go through the conversation of when do you
Not
want to
their
retire? What
way.
other goals do you have? And they're all like they're goals, but they're superficial goals. They're goals that we've been given through society. They're through observations or being told. They're not really ours. So if we give somebody the freedom to dream and say, hey, throw all of the rules out of the window. Don't worry about money. What does your ideal life look like? What does your ideal day look like? What does your ideal week look like? Where are you? Who are you with? Like, what are you doing that would make you happy to where you would say, I need nothing more than this? And then you are honest with yourself and you know yourself and you can put that out and you can vocalize it. You and I as life planners can, you know, regurgitate that back to them so they can hear it. And now we have this life that actually matters. And now we have this plan that says you can live this life. You just have to do this with your money. That's probably going to get implemented because the life that it's bringing to reality is one that they actually want. It's one they actually care about. And it's one that probably is a lot closer than retiring 35 years down the road. To me, life planning is just, it's planning for life, but not just any life. It's the life that you want.
No.
It's planning for your authentic life.
Justin, and I do have a slide that I show my potential clients, and I took it from a book, Unstoppable Me, from Dr. Wayne Dyer. And in that book, there is this um, person looking on the post, and it has all these directions, and it says like your teacher's way, your coach's way, your parents' way, your big sister's brother's way, and there is one that points towards and it says your way. This is, in my opinion, what you mentioned as well, finding your authentic life, your harmonious life. And of course, like, we are not doing magic, we just facilitating the meeting, we are guiding them, we have the questions to ask, we have exercises to do, and that helps them to find their way, not the way that was assigned to them by society or the environment they grew up. I love the way that you defined it.
And all those signs on that photo, they're still important. Like,
Yeah,
it's not to say that, I mean, I do think that ultimately all the truths that we need to know about ourselves lie from within, but we can learn from others. So your coach still has value. Your advisor still has value. Your mom and dad, society, like there's still value in what they have to offer, but you don't have to take on from them what doesn't feel natural and authentic to you. And I think that like my love and my fascination with aligning spirit, mind, and body is when you have that alignment, you can better discern what really aligns with me and what doesn't, because you're gonna feel it. Like that's the tough thing about so much of this stuff is it's feeling. Like you have to know how to listen to your what'd you say, your smart feet, which is your intuition. Like you've got to learn to listen to that. You've got to learn to realize like that feeling in your chest is telling you something, and you have to learn how to understand what it is. Your heart is speaking to you, like, but it's a feeling thing, and that's what's really hard. And I think the cool thing about the process is the way we've been taught is there is ample space in the process for you to feel.
hmm
We're not running through rattling off numbers. It's questions in space, uncomfortable space. Let's be quiet. Let's see who wins the battle of who's going to speak first. Because in that silence is where the feelings are
magic
felt.
happens.
Yeah, and I was going to disagree with you. I think we do magic. I think that the work we do is magical because of the outcomes. If you think about somebody could be on the path to live a very good life, a comfortable life, but not the life that they really want to live. And whether they know that at the beginning of the process or they learn that in the process doesn't matter. But then by working with them and going through this process and working the magic of the process, they end up living the life that they would write for themselves and everything that comes with that they would have missed out on had they just stayed on this good path. And,
Mhm.
I think maybe I don't mean to judge, but I don't want people to live life on the comfortable path unless they have chosen to do so. If you go through this process and you go through and you create this great life of everything that you want and you know what it takes to get there and you still stay on the path that you've been set on, I can be content with that. I can be at peace with that you chose that. I just don't want anybody to miss out on the opportunity to live a great life, the life that they're supposed to live because they don't know.
Yes.
I don't like that bothers me. Like I don't want and some people have more obstacles to believing that that's possible because of where they come and what been told and what they see. But I think conversations like this and your content and those things circulating will hopefully catch more people just to get them a glimpse of what is possible. And maybe they begin to follow, their heart tells them, well, follow this. Read more of what Ohan has to say and let's learn more about these Alohana moments and what does this mean for me? And that's the spark that gets them going. Um, I want to make sure I want to plug, like I legitimately want to plug Alohana Financial. So I want to take a few moments and talk about the business because this is my show, so I can plug who I want.
Very
But
nice.
also I want to give you an opportunity to kind of wrap up life planning if there's any closing thoughts you have about life planning.
Life planning, one thing came to my mind. It is famous, there is famous Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And of course, like the bottom levels, like you need to have the shelter, food, just to have that physical like satisfaction. To start thinking about all this, because I don't want for someone to listen us and they're like, yeah, you guys are in that position that you can talk about all these, but for that people as well, like just being on that mindset of that I can do more instead of being okay with the situation that I'm in, because I can talk on my behalf as well. I've been in that situation, and you just need to make sure you have that hope and you have that believe in yourself, the most importantly, and just trying and putting yourself out, being in right rooms or right environment. That's so important. And that is another reason I know that environment usually is not connected to happiness, because when you ask someone, are you happy, they don't tell you like, yes, I'm happy because I live in this house or in this state. It has nothing to do, but of course it affects on you. So that's another thing, I just wanted to mention about it, because before when you were talking, that came to my mind. I like, yes, everyone is in different journey at different stages of their life. But if you came to that point that you are more or less figure out that below needs of that hierarchy of needs, and but something inside you says like, you can do more, there is more, now it's time for you to do more. And I don't necessarily mean like, because it's kind of counterintuitive to that enough as well. You need to keep that enough in mind as well. But life planning is perfect. There is a saying that is for everyone, but especially for the people who are in the point of their life, in their 40s, as you mentioned, like midlife awakening. Yes, that became a phrase. If you are in that point, you got all this experience and everything, but now you want to truly live your authentic life in harmonious way, truly meaningful life planning, in my opinion, one of the best tools to help you to unlock that path.
And so tell everybody how you're doing that at Alohana Financial.
At Alohana Financial, I start with life planning with the process evoke, which is, I'm sure many of your listeners already heard, but it stands for an abbreviation: exploration, vision, obstacle, knowledge, and execution, which are separate meetings, but it can be several meetings. It doesn't necessarily mean that each letter is one meeting, but we start with listening, which I mentioned already a lot, and I will not rush. I do my best to give that space for you to bring up that longings, that yearnings, whatever you have that you maybe even didn't share with your significant other. I'm there to listen what you want to accomplish in life. and then on the next meeting I help together. I guide you, and together we build your vision. And just in many cases it is good when someone else um, reads or articulates to you, and you can listen your own vision to yourself. That's the part of the exercise we do and I do. And then of course right away people start thinking about obstacles, which I remind them that we have meeting dedicated to that. So now just live your vision, truly just feel it. It
Mhm.
is easy to say than done, because it was not easy for me to feel it, but I'm sure everyone can feel it if I can feel it. And then only after that third meeting, I come with a financial life plan that incorporates your vision in it and the way that we will accomplish it. And then, of course, the execution phase. And it's in many cases counterintuitive when I mention to potential clients that we'll have um, 4 meetings, because execution is something that can take a little bit longer than a meeting. We'll have 4 meetings, and I'm not going to discuss any numbers for the 3 meetings. It's kind of counterintuitive because they come to see financial planner or advisor for a problem.
Mhm.
But all the questions that we ask, everything that we do to guide clients to their vision, is everything money related.
Mhm.
And I
Well, I
do it.
always tell people that we could start with the numbers, and then when I take you through this process, we're gonna have to redo
Gonna
the
change.
numbers because I almost guarantee that where we get to on the other side of this process is not gonna match where we're at today. So I know you do this as well, like a quick snapshot, especially if it's a new client. Quick snapshot. Make sure there's no, you know, financial bombs out there that need to be addressed. Oh, you have no life insurance, but you have a family. Like you need to get that now before we start the process. Get that. You don't have a will. Get that. Like there's things that need to be addressed right on. But if if you fill out the software for the financial planning early on, and I look at it, and you've got retirement savings going, you've got investments. Like I don't care so much what the balances are quite yet, but I just know you have all those things in there, and you have the foundations in place. Then let's put those numbers to the side because a what they're going to be will be different when we get on the other side of it. And also those numbers, if we focus on those early on, they become distractors to your point. Like they become obstacles that maybe they don't need to be. So like just disassociate from the money, dream, vision, feel, and then I promise you we'll get the numbers on the other side, but I don't want those to restrict what you might want. Like you may not let yourself fully dream because you don't think you have the financial means to do it. Take that judgment out. Just dream, and then we can say, because what you might find out is the dream, the way you have your finances set up today, you don't have the finances. But when you realize this dream and you know how important it is and that is your focus, maybe you're able to reconfigure the finances in a way you couldn't see before that allow you to do that. So the money becomes a distraction, even though that's why they come to us, which, as being early to the game as we are, is frustrating. Like I wanted everybody to come to me for the life planning and the ongoing coaching. But I know, and I've even tweaked some of the writing and things, I know what's going to bring somebody to work with me is a financial pain point, and that they happen to like how I speak about life and how I talk about tying things together. And by now they know the process we're going to go through. But I think we're a long way away from somebody calling up you and saying, I want a life plan. They're going to say, hey, I inherited this money. I like what you write about. I like you. Can you help me? And then that's where we got to say, yes, but here's our process. We will get to that. And then like have them trust us that we will get to there. Well, real
Absolutely.
quick. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And just like let's be honest, like, which is very important in our profession and in world in general. The financial plan that we build, everyone knows that it will not it will not work out the way that we build at the beginning, because life will happen. But my goal, my purpose is just to make sure that I bring you towards your vision, what you told me during that meeting, what you want to accomplish. Unless it, of course, got changed, and we can communicate that as well. But I've been part of that vision meeting. I heard what you want to accomplish in your life. And my job is just to tweak the financial plan along with you and your like finances, to make sure that we get there as soon as possible.
Somebody listens today or watches. they like you? Like, who are the clients you're looking to serve? How does somebody know that Alohana Financial is the right place for them? Obviously, you got to be in for the life planning process, because I've told Ohan he's not supposed to do a lot of non-life planning stuff, unless you really really like the people. But who are you looking to serve? Who are the right clients for you? We won't say a niche yet, but like, how would somebody know that they should reach out to you and you're the right person for them?
Justin, and I think a lot about the niche, and there are three different things come to my mind. So first, Henrys come to my mind, who are high earners, not rich yet. These are like, again, with my background in coaching and everything, these will be good conversations that we can have with Henrys, just again to guide them to find truly what they want to accomplish in their life and why they are not taking that steps. Um, First generation immigrants will be another people that will click because of me again being an immigrant myself. Immigrants also, but the reason I mentioned first generation immigrants because in many cases for immigrants it's hard to think about these feelings, life planning, and all that. They are more like they came to this country, want to make money, live comfortable life, but their kids now they already see that oh there are different levels of life and I truly want to find out what is the meaning for me and everything. And couples, the reason being I got married not that long ago, so I will still click with newly wed and or couples who are planning family, who have just their kids, who are young, they want to plan for their education, or they want just to just have an idea what they want to accomplish in their life. That's another reason I'm doing this virtually, so I can have access to anyone pretty much from anywhere in the world or nationwide in United States. But if in addition to these three, I can mention just nice people who truly value value and good advice, but it is not just the traditional way of me advising them, but more of a like helping them, guiding them. I'm trying to remove this word help as well from my lexicon to guiding them to find out the advice that will show their way, the way that they want. These are like my ideal clients.
Perfect. Michael Singer fans would be another one you'd add on there.
Yes, yes, indeed.
All right, Ohan. Well, I'll have links to Alohana notes to the website. I'll link them to your LinkedIn as well. Anywhere else you want me to put in the show notes.
Alohana notes I publish on my website, which is Alohana Financial. Interesting enough, AlohanaFinancial.com, and also like I'm on LinkedIn active, not on other social platforms yet because I have certain feelings when I will jump on them. Probably YouTube will be one of the first ones. Also on Substack, I post my blog over there as well. My first name and last name is very unique, so it will be easy to find me in the web as long as you don't do misspelling. But yes, AlohanaFinancial.com is the place that I'm nowadays.
Awesome. Well, those will all be in all the show notes on the blog post, on LinkedIn, on Apple, Spotify. So easy to make it easy to find them. So Ohan, I appreciate you taking the time. It's always fun to spend time with you and thinking of ways that we can do more regular conversations around life planning and stuff, and loop you in on my convos with friends rather than just a one-off appearance. So Ohan will be back for all the Ohan fans out there, which I know there will be many.
I would love Justin. Thank you very much for this
Yes.
opportunity. I see you. You are my friend, and of course, I would love to get involved with anything that you are doing.
Awesome. Well, the feeling is mutual. I'll see you in the text messages and Zoom here before too long. So I appreciate it. Go have a great rest of the day. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next episode.